my diagnosis is bipolar 1 disorder with psychotic features and post-traumatic stress disorder. I feel deeply depressed and very up. And when I say up, I mean like really good, really happy, really on fire, really motivated, really inspired. The grass is greener, the sun is brighter, and I just do things that are outside of what is, commonly done. I recognize that I behave oddly, talking to myself, talking out loud to myself, not eating, not sleeping, just spending a lot of money and, thinking that the TV and the radio are giving me special messages. That's what happens with me when I experience mania. What happens with me when I experience depression is I cannot get out of bed in the morning. Just being able to do that is like a major, major success. But it's like someone really wrapping me up like a mummy, and I can't move. I can't get out of the bed. I am so, when I open my eyes, struck with fear and worry and anxiety, and I just simply don't know what to do. I am really afraid. I'm very, very grateful, very, very thankful for one therapist in particular who helped me to work through some childhood trauma issues, which I think, and so did she, really affected my mental wellness. And she helped me to work through and process some of that stuff. And, that was maybe 7 years or so ago. And I can totally see the improvement in the relationships that I have with my parents, the relationship that I have with my children. It really helped tremendously. So that was good.
When I'm depressed, I always describe it as having a dark cloud full of rain always following you around, while at the same time having cement blocks attached to your feet and making it really, really hard to move forward. So there's definitely the colors aren't as vivid around you anymore. The food doesn't have the same taste. The enjoyment in everyday things like taking pictures or going out for a run almost become chores. I realized I needed help when I was sitting in the room with one of the girls I went to college with. We shared a room at the time. And I believe I was crying or just really expressing how much in despair I was feeling after the breakup with my boyfriend. And she swiveled her chair around and faced me. I was on her bed, she was at her desk, and she swiveled her chair. And she said, "Cynthia, I think you are depressed." And I had to hear the word depressed in order for light bulbs to go off. And I really internalized that word and I gave it a lot of thought. And it really woke me up. I agreed with her and I felt elated in the sense that I actually had something to call what it was that I was feeling.
If I were to go back to where I identified the first point in time to where I had a point where I needed help and I experienced trauma was when I was 6 and I was sexually abused. That was when my parents started to notice things, or they became just more aware because of that moment, who knows. Either way, that was when things started happening and Amanda started becoming oppositional or having issues with rules or whatever. I did a little bit of burning, a little bit of cutting. It made it feel like I still could feel something. I could translate this cloud of thought and these sort of cyberspace thoughts and feelings and senses into something that was real, that I could see, that I could feel. Like you still have something pumping through you when you see the effect of hurting yourself. But it wasn't to the point of trying to kill myself. From a provider standpoint, my experience with that was very much, we think you have depression, we think you might have this, we think you might have that. And I felt like there was very little space to where it could be like, Amanda, how do you experience this? How do you, if you were to put it in your own words, what does that look like? I think I really would have appreciated that as an artist who sort of paints a different picture for things in my own mind, and as someone who doesn't really attribute my experiences to the status quo or what's normal or what's written in the textbook.
I'm diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and the traumatic event happened in 1979 when I crashed a Navy aircraft. And it wasn't until 1993 that, while seeking some relief for pain, that I was referred to a clinic, and I had to go through a psychologist in order to get the kind of treatment I was trying to get. And this guy was a nice guy. He was a pilot, and we talked, and the next thing I know, he's got a diagnosis for me on post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, I knew that as a government employee, if I admitted to having post-traumatic stress disorder, I would lose my security clearance, and that would mean I'd lose my job. So I hid it. I didn't tell anybody. It was very traumatic. It was very difficult. Intrusive thoughts, inability to sleep with nightmares. Probably the most problematic was I'd be walking through a building and I'd wake up. Now I know that doesn't sound exactly right, but that's what it felt like. I had no recollection of even being in the building, and all of a sudden I was there. Worse is it happened when I was driving a car, more than once. And that's not safe. Denial, not understanding, using work as a substitute, self-medication, that's a polite word for drinking. So 30 years I didn't do anything. And then when I realized what the problem was and that I could not function, I could not work, I could not do anything, I better do something about it.